He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall, and I guess you just rhyme with Bat Minutes!
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Bat Minute and Robin. This is the podcast where we strip off each flamboyantly ridiculous layer of Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
And here to entice you into a frenzy for 3 whole days this week. Isn't that crazy? It's your other host, John Parker.
there is a real frenzy going on throughout these minutes. Everyone's all fired up, and presumably fired up to talk about it as well. Although I can't vouch for that. But we have a new guest to the show.
What?
We have a free. Well, how would you prefer to be introduced, Sabina? Like just
that's
writer?
fine. Yeah, whatever you're going to say is. I think I know where you're going.
It's like, well, arch writer and experts in surrealism and old Hollywood, which is should hopefully come in handy for this minute, as it is very weird. This is Dr. Sabina Stent.
Hi, thank you so much for asking me on.
Oh, no problem at all. I was making sure after last week we had Pamela Izey emphasized her doctor. So I'm making sure to get that in as well.
Yeah, of course, it's very appropriate.
Yeah. In the show notes, I'm putting it in bold.
And then also, because we had gone through all of Batman Forever as well, and Gossip Gertie at one point does go like, "Doctor? What kind of doctor?" Which I now, since the years since we recorded that episode, every time I hear the word doctor, I have the impulse to say that.
So when you go and see your GP even.
Yeah, he's like, you've been here a million times, for Christ's sake. But yeah, we're here today to talk about minute 43 of Batman and Robin, which is a minute that opens with some apes a-poppin', which is a Simpsons reference I never thought I was going to get to make.
Oh my God.
And it ends a minute later with a disguise a-droppin'. So, yeah, we continue this... well, actually, should ask you, Sabina, because Batman and Robin is it's got a reputation. And what is your opinion of this movie as a whole, like going towards it?
Okay, well, I saw this in the cinema when it first came out. Whenever that was, the early 90s, was it? It was the early 90s.
Yeah, 97 actually. Yeah, so.
Well, so I saw it then, and I wasn't as struck on it as I was Batman Forever, and obviously Batman Returns, which is just the best one.
Yes.
And so I came away, and I didn't watch it for a good, I didn't watch it for maybe over 10 years or something like that. I didn't watch it for a good long time. It was the one I kind of stayed clear of for quite a while. And then when I rewatched it, I was like, actually, this is really good.
Yes.
It's better than I remember it being. I mean, there are some bits obviously that work better than others, but I think certain scenes work very, very well. And I think it's just a spectacular, over the top comic book film. And that's what you want in comic book films. You want them to be, colorful, and you want them to be silly, and you want them to be over the top. And that's what you want. And I think, Joel Schumacher made absolutely fantastic Batman films. I think his Batman films are good. I don't care what people say.
Yeah, they're just different.
Yeah, and I think that's what you want, because when you watched, I love the Adam West, TV series, and they're closer to that in so many ways, because they were colourful, and they were camp, and they were, they didn't take themselves too seriously. And I think he just wanted to create these visual feasts, and that's what they are.
Yeah.
And so I like it. I think it's a gorgeously visual film. I think the effects and the makeup and the whole kind of staging and everything. I think it's really well done. So yeah, I think it's one that I'm glad it's getting a lot of love now, and it's been rediscovered and been reliked by people and reappreciated.
Hell yeah, we're trying to help with that. I mean, we're very critical of the movie because how could you not be? But it's fun and we enjoy it.
Oh, I mean, even talking about fun is like the opening seconds of this movie almost like encapsulate the whole film. Really,
the gorilla group.
Yeah. I mean, it's just. It was always that thing, wasn't it? How's Clooney going to be as Batman? How's he going to be? Because I liked Val Kilmer as Batman.
Yeah,
I thought he was good. But at the time you think, I'm not so sure. But he looks like he's having a good time, and that's what you want. You want some, they all look like they're having a really good time on this film. No one looks miserable, which I think maybe. the more recent ones, it hasn't always been fun and games.
Yeah, I love them, but the more recent ones are very dour and serious. And it would be nice to get a Batman that's a bit of fun again.
Yeah.
Which we're not going to be getting with the new one because it looks very serious.
I don't know. I think Robert Pattinson might. I think he's just. I think he's a very good actor, but I do think there is a side of him that just does not, just wants to go crazy in this role. I think he'll take it seriously, but I think he won't take it to the extreme of serious, if that makes sense.
I'm hoping we get a bit of that lighthouse Robert Pattinson.
Yes, that's what you want, don't you? That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, you mentioning Clooney, we are quite critical of him throughout, but going back to my original plan this season of trying to love what Clooney's doing, I actually think here, and for the next few minutes, I'm going to bring it up throughout the week, this is some of his best acting in the movie. I think it's subtle reactions to the things that are about to happen.
Now, I was just going to say, because obviously there's so much going on all around him, he has to, if he did any more than what he's doing, it might look ridiculous. Yeah. So he has to, like you say, he's reacting to the to the madness.
Yeah. I suppose we're going to have to bring it up now. What it is he's going to start reacting to. I like how the sexy music is playing before Ivy, disguised as a gorilla, before she even starts doing the striptease. The sexy music comes on, and if you've not seen it before, you're like, what? A sexy gorilla?
It is kind of baffling as to, like, has Ivy come in and, like, already entranced the band? And then sort of psychically got them to, like, yes, play this cover of, because, spoilers for what we're talking about throughout the week and stuff. It's a cover of a song called Poison Ivy. So she's already on, like, I know what my name is. And I know what my intro theme is.
I've got a thing going. Yeah, it's like a wrestling character.
So she's already firmly established, this is my brand. Branding's big in Gotham. So she's like, yeah, go over and give them a little quick dose of the pheromones, and then be like, whisper in the ear, like, all right, so just play this in E, okay?
But it's just, imagine, I mean, obviously, because I saw this as a child, so I don't really remember. But imagine watching this for the first time, like now, as an adult. The gorilla walks out, and the music's all sensual. Wouldn't you be like, what is happening?
It's just weird too, because like she was so into the gorilla act prior as well. When she comes up, she's really like rollicking around like a gorilla, and it's like, so it's obviously Poison Ivy inside the suit. Yeah. But like, I mean, I gotta keep up appearances here, I guess.
She's going for it. It's yeah. I mean, you can't say Uma's like not giving the performance of her life. Her performance is probably akin to Michelle Pfeiffer's as Catwoman. It's another really good, just really embracing their character and having really embodying that character, and that's what she really Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy is one of these ones that I think we're hearing more people talk about now when they talk about the film. But she's fantastic. She is really good in this role.
Yeah, as much as we love Freeze, I think Ivy, to me, is this movie.
I think she
Yes.
really, it's the unadulterated glee she has as well.
Yeah, she's
Because even later on when Mr. Freeze is like, we'll be Adam and evil, and she's like, yes, like she's just like, yeah, I'm evil, I'm into it, this is great.
best part of the film. I think whenever she's on screen, that's when the film is really good. I think like she's not in any bad moments. I don't think. I think she is the strongest link.
I've been really enjoying, actually, since this project, the season has started, I've been going through all of Uma Thurman's movies from like the beginning. And so like watching like old things like Johnny Be Good with her and Robert Downey Jr. and stuff. And it's odd to see because, she comes from like a modeling background. So she was, didn't come in to be an actress straight off the bat. And even in things like Dangerous Liaisons and stuff.
Yes.
Because she's so much of a wallflower kind of character, she doesn't get to, it's not the Uma Thurman she's more quiet and reserved. And I kind of sit and watch these going like, oh yeah, she's really only kind of finding her feet here. And it's by the time then you hit the mid-90s. And she kind of erupts. Like after Pulp Fiction, she just becomes like, oh my God, she's got so much better at this.
This came after Pulp Fiction, didn't it? Because Pulp Fiction was 94, I think.
Yeah, I think this is like she was riding the crest of the wave still of Pulp Fiction.
What a
like
shift in styles of movies to do.
Yeah. But just even in things like in between that, you had like The Truth About Cats and Dogs, where her character.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's really good.
But she's fantastic in that as well.
Yeah.
It's a real full blown comedy role she has to do. And it's like, yeah, she really like, I don't know if she was like taking acting lessons on the side or whatever to improve herself as she went on, but like she really got much better as the 90s progressed. And at this point, then it's like she is perfect for what this film is.
Yeah.
It's everything that was required of her. She read the assignment. She knew what the film was. And she gave this performance, and it's great.
Well, that's the thing. Another question: why is it pink?
I think it was. I think it's to enhance the campness of it because obviously it's a very, very blatant reference to Blonde Venus, Marlene Dietrich in Blonde Venus, which is a Joseph von Sternberg film, and. There's this. I think it's 7 minutes in Blonde Venus that Marlene Dietrich, she's a nightclub singer, and she dances. She reveals herself. She's in this gorilla outfit. It's basically exactly the same.
See, people think Joel Schumacher's just pop culture nonsense. No. He knows what he's doing.
He did. He was asked about it in an interview, and someone said to him, it's you take that reference, from von Sternberg's 1932 film. You do the same here, but the suit's pink. And Joel Schumacher's reaction was, "Oh my God, how did you know that? I love that you know that. Of course, that isn't a reference. I stole it." And then he said, "If you go," he said, "I hope that was very clever." He said, "I haven't seen Blonde Venus in years, but yes, that was a direct steal. If you're going to steal good."
Yeah,
and I think that was exactly it. And it's, I think most people, even if they haven't possibly seen Blonde Venus, they might know that moments, or that's the moments that's the takeaway from the film.
Yeah, it seems to be like that's the most. So I watched the movie to like, okay, let's see if there's anything else. Any other connective tissue in there, and not particularly. No.
Oh, I was going to say we could review it in the hiatus at the end of the season, but never mind.
But it's that sequence really does stand out. It's one of those, you get that sort of vibe, like they thought of that separately, and they're like, we just need a movie to put that bit in because we've come up with this concept. But yeah, it's weird though because that was like a 1932 film, so you would assume like, oh yeah, the ape costume won't be as good, like it'll look silly. But the thing is, the beginning they play in that scene is if it's a real ape, and it's supposed to be a surprise then when it sits down and the gloves come off, and it's revealed to be Marlene Dietrich underneath, and it's like a real like whoa kind of moment. Whereas here, like me and Joel were talking briefly in the green room prior to this, and I was saying, as ridiculous a scene as this is, it's hard to imagine a better way to introduce Poison Ivy to the people of Gotham, because it is such a weird, bizarre, sensual, sexual scene. and it's like it's up there with like Batman Forever. Like I think it's tough to introduce a fully formed version of Two-Face better than, you know, this had a simple shot of the bat signal and the coin flipping up past it and him catching it. It's like, that's perfect. Joel Schumacher knew exactly what he was doing there.
Yeah.
And this is also the only thing that detracts from it a little bit is that the gorilla costume looks so silly. Like it's.
But I think it works in the context of the film.
It does.
You know, it's a fantasy, and I think obviously you've got these really elaborate kind of, you know, Mr. Freeze hair. That's, you know, that's kind of it. And I just think it just fits. I think it just works in the context of this film. It doesn't look silly.
No, it doesn't. And it kind of goes with the setting. Like this ball, it makes sense in the context of that. Because everything at this ball looks weird and strange. Yeah. The colours are odd, popping.
It's the mask, though. It's the face of it. Because I was almost looking up. It's like, it looks like it's like an old Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah,
like Snagglepuss or something. It's like, why is it? It looks like this is the costume itself is a reference to something even beyond Blonde Venus.
It does, yeah. It just looks like maybe it was, but I think they just maybe tried to, you know, just make it look like a comic book version. Maybe, I'm not sure, but because obviously, don't forget Joel Schumacher started out in costume design, so maybe I don't know what his input was in the costume, if he had any like additional say, or because really you couldn't have a black gorilla costume in this film. It wouldn't work because you've got, you know, Batman's wearing black. It wouldn't have worked. You need that contrast in color. It could have been green. Yeah. It could have been green. Green may have worked, but you have like pink, which is obviously like a color of, you know, love and romance, so maybe in, you know, femininity, so maybe it was just to you know, to emphasize that Ivy is like this, they're all gonna fall in love with her as she, you know, does her thing,
but then she sheds it, she throws it away, she doesn't need this.
So it should also mention, though, within the movie Blonde Venus as well, it's a different song that's featured, and it's actually it's still weirdly a lot of the things, just even the choice of, you know, evoking Marlene Dietrich through Poison Ivy, it all works very well, because the song she sings in it is Hot Voodoo, which is it's basically all about like just, you know, for 1930s, it's very sensual, it's very sexual. You know, that beat gives me a wicked sensation. My conscience wants to take a vacation. Jungle rhythms sort of getting you hot and bothered, basically. And, you know, essentially what Poison Ivy's doing with the pheromones here is using sort of things that she's brought back from the jungle, as it were, and then using them to do a form of voodoo over people. She's literally capturing people's minds and manipulating them via her own sexual magic spell and stuff. So, although, of course, then they do change the song, and this, as mentioned, to be a really, really good cover of the song Poison Ivy.
Oh, it's an amazing... I could listen to this on loop.
Yeah, but even in evoking Marlene Dietrich as well, like, because if people don't know who she was, because, you know, it's a long, this gigantic film star way, way back when, and had that reputation as being sort of... I don't know if I would say femme fatale, but she had that sort of dangerous sexual vibe to her, and a very commanding female presence and stuff.
Yeah, she was like renowned for her. She was bisexual. She had, you know, numerous liaisons with men and women, and she was very. And, you know, androgynous. She could be very androgynous in her dress. You know, she would wear like tuxedos in certain situations. So she was actually like very well known for her legs at one point. And obviously, Ivy's got these kind of amazing, you know, Uma's got these incredibly long legs. So even the emphasis on like legs and things like that was another factor in it. But yeah, just that kind of like seductiveness that she could, you know, have, you know, you think that with Ivy, it's like she could have anyone she wants. She could, you know, just attract them to her. And yeah, Marlena's like legendary in that kind of sexual fluidity she had.
Yeah, even like some of her other most famous roles, like the Scarlet Empress. Yeah. You have Poison Ivy, literally scarlet hair. And things like The Devil is a Woman. I was like, well, yeah, you got a supervillain, right? Right in this movie here. Also notable that she was in A Touch of Evil, which we talked about way back in Batman '89 because the character of Eckhart, who was kind of like a Harvey Bullock-ish type character, but Tim Burton really came out and flat out said, like, oh no, he's much more based on Orson Welles' character from A Touch of Evil. So
yeah,
still, everything's connected.
I was about to say it. How dare you? But this whole thing, I just wanted to say, like, this is peak burlesque. It is drag excellence. I keep saying she's a drag queen, and here you go. RuPaul would approve. Shantae, you
also get like a sense of like you get a huge amount of Mae West.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So much Mae West. The innuendos coming out of Ivy's mouth is fantastic. I mean, she has that kind of. It's like she's doing a Mae West impression at some points.
I think she, in interviews, she says like 100% based the character on Mae West. And like, particularly at the end of this week when it gets into all that, my garden needs tending and all these kind of things, like this is just flat out taken from those old movies, basically.
Yeah.
And again, it's very drag.
And obviously, again, like Mae had this kind of drag queens loved her, and she another gay icon, so she just had this camp reputation, but also I read some of the, some people say Jessica Rabbit was kind of Ivy has this Jessica Rabbit.
I can see that.
And, I think I read one thing, I can't remember it was where, but it was the only mention I've seen of it. And I mean, maybe to a point, again, it's maybe the red hair and the legs, but I think there's definitely a lot. I think it's probably more, makeup wise, because even the eyebrows are very Marlene Dietrich, that kind of arched eyebrow. And again, the red, and but I think the attitude is all Mae.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Although, not that you mentioned the eyebrows, not that we can really see them properly once she disrobes here, because she's got these. Yes. What do we call these? Some kind of strange prosthetic.
They eyebrow kind of like decoration.
Yeah. I love them, but I don't know what they are.
I think it's supposed to indicate her. I think they've said in production notes they're designed to show her progress throughout the movie, because this is her now blossoming, so they come out as green, and then later on in the autumn they turn golden, and then they fall off. But then it goes in conjunction with her hair, which goes up into kind of buds at one point, and then flamboyantly gets bigger and bigger until it sprouts out into the full, like the hair piece she has in the her fight with Batgirl and stuff. Should also mention, though, in talking about drag, though, John, that this sequence, not this sequence, the Hot Voodoo sequence from Blonde Venus, this is not the first time that's been used in other movies.
Oh.
Because it's so iconic. And it was actually used as part of a drag performance in the film Day of the Locust.
Oh, okay. You'd think I would have seen that, but no.
Oh, I think it's only like one like little minor dream sequence in it. Like it's not the performance is actually done by an actor called Paul Ybarra, and he was the guy who took over the role of Frankenfurter when Tim Curry went off to do the Rocky Horror movie. So he was like the second ever Dr. Frankenfurter after Tim Curry, which we were talking about freaking Rocky Horror nonstop during that Bane making sequence, because it was like it seems like it's supposed to be Frankenstein, but it's a lot more Rocky Horror than that.
It's definitely more Rocky Horror in the tone.
Yeah, that guy Paul Ybarra also co-wrote "It's Raining Men."
So what the hell?
A random tidbit I found out.
Isn't that Homer Simpson's favorite song?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's instantly what I thought of too. Like, you got any requests? It's raining men.
I love that. That's great. And I just wanted to say one other thing about Ivy. Well, I mean, we're going to talk about her loads, but specifically as she's disrobing, this is the greatest nail polish of all time.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I wish
yeah.
to purchase it. So if somebody could inform me what it is.
This is it's literally this has to be the screenshot for the episode. Is her two hands kind of clasping as they come out because it's. I wasn't as big. I'm not. To be fair, cis het male here. Just like I'm not big on jewelry. That big clunky emerald thing she's got. Not for me. I thought that looked a bit garish. But again. It's not as if anything in this movie is subtle. So this might be a legitimately beautiful
it's drag.
piece.
It's got to be like exaggerated.
So she come out like she had like one of those push pop rings that you used to get back
I used
in
to
the
love
day.
them.
Yeah, they got that I would go for. But
no, I am not a jewelry person, right? But it's not. I mean, look at me. You would assume that I would be. It's purely because I find stuff on my fingers uncomfortable. It freaks me out. If they fit properly, it feels like they're too tight and I won't get them off. So I buy them in a bigger size and then they just fall off and I lose them.
Yeah. Well, on the other hand, though, she has this gold band coiling around. It looks like a snake almost around her finger, which of course is very appropriate considering realizing in close scrutiny more and more that it's not just the plants with this version of Ivy. It seems there's a lot of snake stuff going on with her.
Yeah,
because
that explains her movements. It's very serpentine. It's like snake, like it's seductive, and it also then adds to the music because the music's a bit snake charmery.
Yeah, totally. What about you, Sabina? Do you have any? Would you wear Poison Ivy's finger wear, or are you just like, oh dear?
Oh
God,
yeah, totally, yeah. There's so many things. Sometimes you think, I'd wear that. Yeah, why not?
I think caught my eye as well because I always remember we would have talked about last season in Jim Carrey's Riddler, like that onesie he had.
Fantastic.
He had. But he had a weird thing where it looped around his thumb. I always remember that from the poster when I was a kid, seeing what is it? Oh yeah, it's it's not a glove he's wearing. It's just to keep it tight on up to his wrist.
Like a stirrup thing for his thumb.
Yeah,
you used to get that with leggings in the late 80s and the early 90s. We used to have stirrups in our leggings.
That's how I always think of leggings still to this day because, I mean, I'm only, as of recording, 35, but my sister's 5 years older than me, so, she was still into all those fashions, so she always wore them, and I didn't realize that not all leggings are like that now. No,
because I'm like an early 80s, child. I was born in 82, so I used to have things with stirrups until. And then when they started phasing them out, and you're like, well, where the stirrups gone?
You need them.
Yeah, they're really useful, especially when you wear boots, because things creep up your leg.
Yeah.
So you just like, where they bring them back.
So that's the official Bat-Minute position: is bring back the stirrup.
Yeah.
We're starting a hashtag
now, causing an internet fervor. It's Bat-Minute has been cancelled for attempting to bring stirrups back.
Yeah.
The world said no.
Hey, if we're getting cancelled over that, good.
Yeah. But Poison Ivy does have a little stirrup around her, and it's a manner similar to the Riddler's outfit. So I guess it's both skin-tight green spandex.
You've got to keep these things in place.
Yeah, so she's got one that's still going around the thumb, or goes around her little finger there, which is but the whole we'll get seeing this. Well, actually, do get seeing this as the minute goes on. This little thing in her palm as well, the leaf. Which is, I have a feeling I'm going to be trying to decipher this the rest of the movie. Whether she made the pheromone herself or whether it naturally secretes from her.
Oh, okay. It's a bit like Spider-Man. Sometimes the webs come out of him and sometimes he makes a device.
Yeah. And the way she's having to dispense it too is almost like a Spider-Man, the underhanded, the palm facing upwards.
I always thought it was coming out of her now because she is plant.
But yeah, the thing always seems to be. It seems to be the thing in her palm. Yeah. I'm wondering if it. And I think later on she has the little vanity mirror. She's blowing things out of that as well. So I don't know if it's that. Maybe it's as fans of Die Hard with a Vengeance might recall, that was a 2-part bomb that Jeremy Irons would use, and you had to mix the chemicals together. Yeah. I'm wondering if it's that the same venom that she uses to kill people that comes out of herself naturally. She's mixing it with something that's in her hand, and so when she blows on it, together that creates the pheromone.
Right. I like that on one hand, but on the other hand, it's just too complicated. I don't think they thought about it as much as we.
There's me saying though, like, oh, it's like that bomb and dart, like the Joker did in '89, where Batman had to uncover, like, oh, the hairspray won't poison you alone, but if you put the hairspray with lipstick, it'll become toxic and stuff. So if anyone was sitting at home listening to me talking about Die Hard, was going, you idiot, it was in the other movie. There, we adjusted.
Hey, that was years ago. We don't remember.
I did remember, I recalled that, but I forgot about it because whenever you watch it again, you're like, oh yeah. No. I forgot about that.
So many costumes going on though, beyond even Ivy's outfit though. We get a couple of shots of the crowd here, and everyone was bringing their A game to this party.
You can't. I mean, Joel Schumacher's Batman films, they have fantastic costumes. Even the extras have really, really good costumes.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was in Batman Forever who's the reporter. I think she might be in this.
Gossip Girl.
Oh yeah.
She has fantastic glasses, and I remember in Batman Forever she has really good glasses. And she's only in like a split second of the film, and I just always remember her glasses.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. They say multiple times in like commentaries and interviews that this movie was rushed, but I don't see it in the production, at least. Like, as you say, every single person looks great. The visuals in the movie are fantastic, even if you don't like the plot.
Like about 17 seconds, you get a good shot of the crowd as they're all standing gazing.
Oh, and their acting, I find absolutely hilarious. The men are cracking me up. They're acting their hearts out. Some of the women too. Ivy is equal opportunities.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it does seem that, like, the Poison Ivy is like, it's not like, this only works on heterosexual men. It's like, no, everybody falls under the spell.
Like Marlene Dietrich.
Yeah.
There you go, exactly. And plus, now Poison Ivy herself is like an openly bisexual character, so it all blends together beautifully.
Yeah.
But a lot of the costumes, they almost do have like a homemade quality to them that actually does add to it, as if like, oh, maybe they said to the extras, if you could make your own costume, because there's like people in there. There's one who looks like an underwater Marge Simpson or something. There's like a kind of giant, it's almost like a Beefeater hat she's got on with this big pink flower coming. Like, that's fantastic. And near her, someone with like this big, I assume it's supposed to be a sunflower thing, but it's almost like a lion's mane. And they all look like they've been put together with like paper mache and stuff, but that's just like, oh, it looks fantastic though. I'm loving it.
I wonder if they like had to raid any costumes for any other productions. I wonder if they like sort of had a route around.
That's a good point, actually.
Someone's there dressed up as Kenneth Branagh in Wild Wild West in the corner.
Why not?
Movies regularly do that, but I mean, at least, unless I'm misremembering, in the commentary they don't mention that, do they?
No.
Which is a shame,
I think I really noticed it this week. Not to get into anything spoilery, but as of recording the latest episode of Loki.
Oh, I haven't watched it yet, so.
Nope.
There's not in any spoilery way, but there's sets on it that I'm like, this is just sets from The Mandalorian that you've just put a pink filter over the camera. And I wouldn't be shocked if Disney were like, that's how you save money. It's like, we were making The Mandalorian. That was there as well. Just like, you got a scene where you need this stuff? Go. Like, they're done now. I support it though. It's a very Roger Corman-esque way of working, where it's like, hey, we rented this castle to make this one movie, but I think we got an extra day. We can make another movie within the next 24 hours. As you were saying though, John, about like the reactions of the Caped Crusaders themselves here.
Oh, I love it. It's like arousal, confusion, erotic bemusement.
Yeah. I think O'Donnell as well, like, as the movie progresses as well, it's like, I've got so many problems with Robin the character. No beef at all with Chris O'Donnell as an actor. He's like,
no, he's doing what he's been asked to do.
Yeah, and
doing that well.
Because Clooney Batman is very much in the kind of like, he's more subdued in his reactions because I guess it's Batman, but hormonal quote unquote teenager Dick Grayson here seems to be like, you can see a bit more of a veracity to his reactions.
Yeah, his eyes are basically popping out, and it's like, oh, woo!
Taking off his bat boot and slapping himself over the head with it and stuff.
It is like a cartoon reaction, like, oh, mama.
But again, though, suits those two characters.
That works. That's what you want.
Yeah.
It's such a a cool reaction from the two of them. And I mean, they've both discovered, I think, right here that they're furries.
I think they already knew, John. Like,
They didn't want to admit it to themselves, though.
let us consider Bruce Wayne's exes.
Yeah. And Batman and Robin here, they're starting to think, oh, maybe I'm into this gorilla thing. But they love it. They're entranced.
It would be great the rest of the movie, though. Like, Bruce, like, you're thinking about poison ivy. He's like, no, I'm thinking about gorillas, damn it.
Yeah, he doesn't care about ivy. He's like, could you
He's
put
like,
the gorilla suit on?
Dick, Mr. Freeze is freezing the city. Will you get off? Stop looking at gorilla porn and get back to business.
And, he's basically wetting himself with excitement here, isn't he? As she drops the rest of the outfit to the ground, much to everybody's delight in the crowd. And we have to keep everything PG, but also, much to mine. She got me. This is a hell of a look. She looks incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Both Ivy and Uma.
Yeah. I think that it's one of the things that comes part and parcel with Poison Ivy, that she always does have to look sort of incredible, basically. It's built into the character. How do you feel about like Poison Ivy as a character, though, Sabina? Do you find her to be like an empowering presence, or do you find like the over sexualization of her to be derogatory in any way?
Oh, I don't probably. Well, I don't know probably enough about her in like the comic books, so I don't. I know some, but I don't know like as deeply as other people. But in this, I think it works, and I think she seems very in control of what she's doing. So I know it's a tricky one, but I don't think she is overly sexualized in this. I think she's not necessarily like wearing revealing clothes. She's not kind of, she seems like she knows what she wants, and she seems to be like getting back what she's, she seems she knows what she's doing, and she wants to be doing. It seems like she's having a good time doing it until it goes wrong. But
I totally see that. And she's using people's desire for her against them, which is interesting.
Yeah,
I think there's points in the comics, though, where they've had Ivy essentially be naked all the time.
Yeah,
and I think they tried to excuse it by saying that because she's like part plant lady, she needs the sun, so she exposes as much flesh as possible. But when you read that, you're just like, yeah.
I've seen.
I'm sure that's what it is.
I saw those covers, and I was like, no. But I mean, a full leotard, that works better.
It's actually an interesting point that you bring up, because this Ivy quite dressed, shall we say, compared to comic Ivy.
Yes.
I suppose it's in a big contrast to the film version of Harley Quinn. Who's very scantily clad a lot of the time. Not as much in
Birds of Prey. No, I think that's because Margot Robbie herself stepped in and sort of took more of more control over the costume.
I think also Birds of Prey, it was all I think it was all or you had mainly female production, so obviously women know how other women dress. It wasn't like a guy saying, wear this is sexy. It was like women saying this looks this looks cute, this looks nice, this looks good. So I like that.
That's one of my main problems with Suicide Squad. Is it spends half the time just focusing on her body, and it's like, but like to the detriment of the plot in the movie. It's like, come on.
Now that the one of her big introductory scenes is like them all watching her getting dressed at one point as well. And it's just like, you're not even trying to hide this, are you?
No. And it's too much. It's too much. Whereas Ivy here, of course, in the comics and stuff, very much linked to Harley. Very different. I'd never considered that.
Yeah, well, I think it actually is a very old school way of working too. Because and talking about like, again, to bring up Marlene Dietrich, people talk about like the hot voodoo sequence have been like, it's very sexy, but she's fully dressed and that the whole time. It's again to evoke The Simpsons, as shockingly we tend to do. Mr. Burns talking about like, Vilma Binky did more for me with one raised eyebrow than having to strip off everything else. So I think it's a very old Hollywood way of like, Ivy's giving almost like the illusion that she's been very sexual but she's totally. She is in her.
It's
acting.
her character that's sexual rather than we're not focusing on that.
Well, it's sexier. It's sexier. You don't need to be naked. It's her art. It's her drag. It's her burlesque. That's much more erotic.
It's that whole thing, isn't it? It's like, as you say, it's the burlesque, and it's what it's that kind of taking things off one thing at a time, and you get in like burlesque that you do, then you would just her coming in with little to nothing on. And it's that thing, you start with like the whole outfit, and it's again even like in terms of like there are certain other like dresses and things that are completely covered in like, I mean, fashion wise, and they are like, again, really sexy, but they don't show anything, and that kind of makes them more erotic.
Yeah, it's the thought of it. Yeah. It's the anticipation.
Exactly. Yes.
But other things, little additional notes just wanted to throw in, though, mostly for the purposes of everything's connected. Should also note that Marlene Dietrich, she also starred in a version of Around the World in 80 Days with Cesar Romero, who of course played the Joker in the 1960s. And of course Arnold Schwarzenegger was in a remake of Around the World in 80 Days with Steve Coogan and Jackie Chan. A film I've never seen, and I think the world has forgotten.
I never watched it. Even though I love both of them. I never wanted to put it on.
Yeah. Should also mention, too, talking about old Batman actors, as I mentioned earlier, Day of the Locust also stars Burgess Meredith, who, of course, was the Penguin. And on top of that, one of the things that Marlene Dietrich apparently was most proud of was that she slept with 3 Kennedys. So, JFK, Joseph P. Kennedy, and then his son, Joseph P. Kennedy Jr. Which is... it's fair enough, but it's also like sleeping with a guy's son that you've already. I would feel strange about that myself, knowing that I was going out with the kid of someone who had already dated. But
you'll have to look at when I won't ruin it for you, but when Noirvember occurs in November time, which if you follow like the hashtag when that starts, there's this amazing like kind of triangle, like weirdly, as you say, it's like a kind of, I don't want to give it away and spoil it, but it's like quite an incestuous, not even a love triangle. You'll just have to wait for it to
I'm excited
will
for
be
this.
tweeted around the time of November, so just keep your eyes on that. Is I don't want to say too much. I think it was I don't want to spoil it. You'll be like, what? You'll be like, what the hell? So it's even more extreme.
But and talking about sleeping with the Kennedys, of course, though, Arnold Schwarzenegger, famously married to Maria Shriver.
He was.
Yeah, well, yeah, but the niece of Joseph P. Kennedy Jr. So it was like Arnie getting a little bit closer to Marlene Dietrich himself there.
Everything's connected.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have quite a few notes about pheromones here that I got from The Science Behind the Fiction on the Sci-Fi Wire website. It's the Sci-Fi Channel has their own sort of separate thing there. Because I was like, well, what is she doing? Like, is this a thing that happens in nature? But in nature, pheromones are not typically used in predator-prey interactions. And pheromones are, by definition, chemicals that trigger a response within members of the same species. This kind of works with Ivy, though, because she's a human, but she's like a modified human. So that's why she can influence other humans, even though it's with a plant power, So that makes sense. Because it wouldn't work that way, like interspecies normally. But, so I was like, well, what animals do sort of use pheromones in different ways? And there were very few that use them in this kind of a sexual manner. But one of them that does is the anglerfish. You know, that weird, creepy one that lives like really deep at the sea.
Is that the one with like the little light that's in front of it? Yeah.
The anglerfish uses pheromones in its mating. They're huge mouths and things. Now, the female anglerfish is the one you've seen, that terrifying monster. But they are sexually dimorphous, which means the males and females are really different to each other. The females can be 60 times bigger than the males. The males are like little worms. And the female gives off pheromones to sort of lure the men in, or a male, which then locates its mate, uses its teeth, the male, to burrow into the belly of the female. So it bites its way into her flesh. And then his body fuses with hers. And their circulatory systems connect. So he is now a parasite. And he has to live off her and just sort of pumps his, let's say, seed into her to mate. But he can never leave her. He's now attached to her permanently for life.
Oh my god. This is kind of like if David Cronenberg was going to do Poison Ivy. It's like, oh yeah, I'm working in the anglerfish angle.
You could put that in a little bit, maybe. She could do something weird and creepy to men. It could be a bit like Under the Skin.
Oh yeah,
That's creepy.
I think like any modern interpretation of Poison Ivy, I think the time is rife to do the character again now, and I think you would have to start putting in elements like that to amp things up a little bit. But
well, and that's what happens to them, the anglerfish, because pheromones, because they follow their nose. So it's a bit similar. She's luring maybe Batman and Robin into maybe not fusing their bodies, but into a slightly strange trap.
Like images though of like her, like like Freddy Krueger, like revealing a part of her body and just seeing people's faces all like stuck into her skin and stuff. Like,
well, that's basically what happens to them. Yeah, they're like little tiny things just dangling off her, like they're stuck forever.
It's an angle.
It's an angler.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not been. Actually, look into it. Maybe it has been on. But like, you had things like the Doom that came to Gotham, where they went like a kind of H.P. Lovecraft version of the Batman characters. I'm surprised that someone wouldn't have done something like that with Poison Ivy already. But if they're not, then now is the time. Like, it's the idea just sitting there.
It'd be pretty cool. Cool. I like it. It's terrifying.
One question though, John. In all this research, did you find out if it works in the cold-hearted?
Oh! No, I did not find out. Either way, we're going to have to test this. But yeah, does anyone have any other notes for minute 43 in particular? Or noted out.
Because Sabina, because of Batman and Robin's heinous reputation, although, as you've noted, that it's kind of changing now. The tide is turning. We've been asking guests, though, what they believe to be the worst film they've ever seen themselves, personally.
Oh, gosh. This is really tricky, because I either like things that are deemed terrible.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, or if something is bad to the point where I haven't enjoyed it, I've maybe scrubbed it from memory. I mean, what was it? I don't know what it was. I forget what it was called, but I saw something. I don't know if it was like either. It wasn't the new Jay and Silent Bob one. It was they were in it, but it wasn't the sequel to Jay and Silent Bob. I don't know what it's called. It's like a kind of horror-esque one.
Was it Yoga Hosers?
No, I forget what it's called.
They're in so many of those as like bit part characters. I
think it's called Insane in the Something. I don't know, unless I completely made that title up.
See, I notoriously
Insane in the Mem. Was it Insane in the Mem? No, that was a slow person. I don't know what it was called. It was James and Silent Bob. Sorry.
I feel bad because the listeners are going to hate me. I don't like any of the movies they're in. Dogma is okay at a push, but I don't like Clerks. I don't like Clerks 2. I don't like Jay and Silent Bob. None of them.
Yeah. See, I like all of them except saying Jay and Silent Bob. I think that's the one where it's like, okay, you've gone too far now. But But though in tangent with that though, Sabina, we also ask to go in a more positive note to end on. Whether you have movies that, of course, are deemed to be bad by society, by the people, the sheeple out there, that you yourself find to be a real joy to watch.
Oh gosh. Because the tide kind of changes every now and then with certain films, you'll see a film is absolutely, slaughtered critically, and then you'll see a load of people love it. So, I mean, I like stuff like for a while it wasn't very positively received, but then I've had people say to me they really like it. Detroit Rock City. Have you seen that?
Oh,
I love that.
Weirdly, I was weirdly talking to someone about that just yesterday.
I love it. I mean,
really weird.
It's not I get that it's not the best film, and I think in some respects it's aged quite poorly in some areas. So I know it's not perfect, but I think it's really good and funny.
You know what? People who say movies age and things like that, good. I want them to.
Yeah.
When I'm watching a movie, I want to be transported back to the time it was made.
I mean, some of the jokes are really crass and like kind of crude, and you think, oh, that's a bit, but
Well, that's me trying to watch Ace Ventura.
Ace Ventura was quite funny. So,
It was quite funny until you sit down and go, wait a minute.
Well,
Some of this is a little
no, I think
bit
I think it's cruder than Ace Ventura, I think, in some bits. But I mean, I think for the most part, I think the funny bits, I think when it lands, the jokes, not even jokes, when stuff lands, it really works very, very, very well. Detroit Rock City, I mean, and I just think the whole concept idea is really funny, and I think you've got performers like Lynn Shay, who's absolutely amazing at everything she does. You've got Natasha Lyonne in this, and you've got Melanie Linsky in this, and Edward Furlong, and the cast is really good. I just think, at one point people were saying, "Oh, this movie's terrible." And I was like, "It's great. What are you talking about?" But yeah, I love that one. But I just think. I don't believe in people in like guilty pleasures, because I think everyone's going to find something good. And I think even films now that are, not considered good, you'll find someone who loves it anyway. So,
oh God,
and I'm normally that person.
Go on Reddit for 5 minutes and someone will be passionately defending something.
You do find people are like sitting like Halloween 6 is their favorite. Someone out there,
it's the best movie ever made.
Their favorite movie is Halloween 6. You're like, okay, man. I mean, I don't know if I could personally sit through that myself. Although Detroit Rock City is way, way better than that.
Yeah.
Though, to be fair.
I'd rather watch that over Halloween 6.
Yeah.
Wait, 6 is the one where it's all about like magical runes and stuff, right?
Yeah, it's the cult of Thorn and all that business.
Yeah,
although,
that's when it really goes.
Poison Ivy, I guess it's all tied in.
Oh God!
What was the one that came out recently? I still haven't watched it. Was it Woman in the Window that people were really going on at? And I haven't seen it yet. Was it Woman in the Window, the one on there?
Oh yeah, the Amy Adams one. Yeah,
some people were saying this is fantastic, and other people were saying, "Oh my gosh, this film's awful." And so I was really I enjoy when films are like that, because I think I'm so curious to see where I personally land.
Yeah, we will head off into the dark, dark night. Sabina, would you like to? Say where you could be found online, or plug anything of your choosing, whatever you like.
You can just find me on Twitter at Sabina Stent, and I just post like various links to work there. And at the minute, there's a lot of Euro talk, and then after that, there's just various ramblings. So yeah, you can find me there.
Yeah, do go and have a look, everybody, and come and speak to us on Facebook at the Bat Minute Listeners Cave, Twitter at Bat Minute, Instagram, the Bat Minute, because we couldn't get straight up Bat Minute because someone stole it, because I hate whoever they are. And check out our Patreon, where you can get more wonderful, lovely bonus content. So just look it up, Sleepy Charlie Media. We will have a new episode. We will have a new guest. Ooh, who will it be? You'll have to join us to find out. See you on Wednesday, Batmites.
Next time, Project Runaway. The Dame of the Triffids shows she means business by baring herself for all to witness. Men are falling to the feet of the city's newest psycho, but as she sashays her way down a human walkway, will the dynamic duo be destined to rue the day? There's a peculiar path of people for the poisonous queen of evil. This Wednesday, Batmites, same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
We'll be back.